All right, everybody, it is Belinda, and I'm back here again, this time with my friend Mark Glave. I'm going to call him Glave because that's what I've been calling him for like ever since I knew him. So he goes by Glave. But anyways, He has such an interesting journey, and I know that you all would gain so much gems from this conversation. So looking forward to this. So Glave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Mark Glave. Mark is my first name.
Yeah.
Mark spelled with a C. I am, oh my God, my birthday was the 11th.
Yeah, so a couple days ago.
Yeah, Friday. So I am, 37 now? Yeah. Wow.
I know, time flies, right?
Right? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I am an exterminator by trade. I've been doing that ever since I was 13. My family has a business, so I've been doing that. I have my own business. It's a cooking business called Saturated Sunday, and I kind of have my hands in a few pies now. I'm doing a graphic novel, working on a fantasy novel separate from that as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So you're actually still working on that fantasy novel. So we'll see how when that comes out. That's kind of cool. All right. So you have an amazing health journey. And it's nice that you've actually even what's the word? Okay. You know what? I can't say it. Yeah. You actually did you recorded your journey, and it's actually on YouTube. And for those who are watching, we can post all that information later. But so what made you start like this whole thing?
I went to the doctor, regular checkup, and one of the things he said to me, well, he asked me if I smoked. This was a new doctor. He asked me if I smoked. He asked me if I drank, and I said no. And he said, good, because you'd probably be dead if that was the case, if you did do that. So that was, I want to say, the first real instance that I said, maybe I should do something about what's going on here, and then 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember, I started having some shortness of breath. It was constant. I had no idea what was going on, and I went to the emergency room. It was that bad that I had to go to the emergency room, and they basically told me that I probably had heart failure that was causing the shortness of breath. So they sent me to a cardiologist, and he confirmed that. He said one of my valves was very weak as well. So he put me on some medication for that.
How many?
At the time, so there was the Entresto, then there was the blood pressure, because blood pressure was like
sky high.
I mean, anyway.
Lucky you didn't stroke out, right?
Exactly, like really sky high. So he put me on 2 blood pressure medications and the heart medication. And then he put me on a cholesterol medication because that was through the roof as well. Then he said, you know what, maybe we should check your blood. Check the blood, diabetes. So I had to go to an endocrinologist, and sugar was like 400 or 500. I don't remember.
Good grief.
Yeah, it was like, like, are you okay, sir? How are you doing right now? And that's the thing that's been with me my whole life.
Wow.
I don't really feel a lot of, whatever health issues I might have had throughout the course of my life, physically. Like I would always just feel fine. I was just big. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you have trouble getting up the steps or whatever the case is, and that's, you just chalk that up to, you big. That's what's gonna happen. But like, as far as pains or things like that, like, I never felt any of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And high blood pressure runs in my family. My father, his pressure is stupid high too. So that, coupled with the lifestyle I had as far as my relationship with food and non-existent relationship with exercise, it all that did was basically exacerbate the situation. So super high cholesterol, super high blood pressure, diabetes, crazy high numbers, and then the heart. So my primary care, he suggested, he said, you know what, maybe you should think about the sleeve surgery for your stomach. That's not something I was really interested in doing, because to me that felt like the easy way out. You know, it felt like you didn't want to, or you couldn't put in the work, so you tried to take a shortcut. But after doing a lot of research, I decided that I would go for it. So that's what happened, basically.
Wow. Okay. So back up a little bit. So what led you? You said that you changed your primary care, and that the primary care told you that, hey, you got to do something.
Yeah.
Like, were you seeing somebody prior to that, or was this just a new person? What happened to make you say, you know what, I should go to the doctor?
Interestingly enough,
Oh boy.
I came to this I sound like a super foreigner by saying this. I came to this country. I was born in Jamaica. I came to this country when I was 4 or 5, and we started seeing a pediatrician, and then we just continued, like, because my siblings were staggered. My sister is 4 years younger than me, and then my brother is like, I mean, he just turned 21, right? So that doctor has been in my life throughout the course of my life. So I just kept seeing him. He didn't mind seeing me even though I was an adult. But because, like I was saying earlier, I don't feel things like that, I rarely went. You know, I would go with my mom if she was taking my brother, because my brother is he's developmentally disabled and he can't walk and that kind of stuff. So I would help, I could take him. So sometimes I would, you know, see him for myself. But he started to tell me you should see someone for your age, because basically your family history is not one that you should take lightly. Diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, kidney failure. My father has kidney failure. You know, so it's basically start to focus on these things. But of course, I mean, doctors will tell you stuff, you know, until your foot's on fire, you're not going to get the water to put out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
So yeah, it took a while. The shortness of breath was really the when I went to the emergency, really the moment that kind of put the fire.
Okay. And that was how long ago? Like a couple of years ago, you said? A few years ago?
Because the surgery was in April of last year. So that hospital thing was probably fall or winter of the year before that.
Okay, 2018. So it's like in 2018, that's when you really were like, yo, I need to do something. Okay. And at that point, how heavy were you, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, at that point, I was between 380 and 400.
Okay.
400 was the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life. I reached 400 at least, because 400 was the point that I saw, but I didn't change anything after that. So I could have been heavier. I just never saw the scale. But between that 400 and when I was at the doctor, I was teetering between 380 and 400 all the time. Back in college with you and Jason and everybody, I was probably 350 and less.
Okay.
You know what was going on, and then you just increased in wisdom and stature, but not in faith. Yeah, that's how happy I was.
Oh God, that's hilarious. Oh man, so like, what were some of the habits that you were engaged in, like, that you think contributed to this your weight gain? Oh boy.
You should ask your husband. He can tell you. I mean, there was a week where we were in school. I think we remained in school for the break during the winter, that week or however, and we went to Denny's probably twice a day for that entire week. And I had a T-bone steak and eggs with cheese for both meals every single day. And this was nothing. I mean,
I know he used to eat crazy too. Sometimes,
So like, if you just picture that as something that I would do, and then you can kind of gather the habits that I had. I mean, I would say the most devastating thing would be sugar. Sugar is a terrible thing, man. But like, sugar's in almost everything, carbs especially, which is something I learned while dealing with the diabetes or what have you. But carbs and soda, like, I'm not even a candy person. but like sodas, sweet drinks, frozen drinks, and then your pastas.
Yep.
So
Ketchup, tomato sauce. It's in all of that crap.
yeah,
Like you gotta like really look at the ingredients to make sure that it's not listed.
yeah. Otherwise, I mean, you think, oh, I need to go low fat because I'm fat. I need lower fat. You realize like that's, even if you're trying to do, that's only a part of the picture, man. There's so many other things that you have to look at. And maybe the biggest thing that I should say is not everybody's journey is going to be the same. Like I struggle with food addiction. You know what I'm saying? And that's not something that you say, you know what? I'm not going to eat a lot anymore. And then everything is fine. Like
Yes.
this is something you deal with and you will deal with for the rest of your life. You have to consciously make the right decisions. And it's going to be hard sometimes. It's going to be easy sometimes, whatever the case is, but you gotta do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh my gosh. So you decided to go through with the surgery in 2019.
Yeah.
How was the process? How was the prepping process? Was it like a year, 6 months? How
It
long
was 6 months. It was 6 months as required by the health insurance. So you needed to go to like you basically needed to see the doctor for that surgery for 6 months, once a month, and you also needed to get approval by a psychiatrist to make sure your head was on straight, basically, to do the surgery. And of course, I had to get clearance from my cardiologist, which almost did not happen, and clearance from the endocrinologist, which was fine.
How long were you required to lose a certain amount of weight prior to surgery?
No, listen. The only requirement was actually I had to have a BMI of over a certain amount. I think it was 38 or 40, something like that. And also have a comorbidity, which I had in spades because of diabetes. And
you had a lot.
Yeah. So they were like, no, you're totally fine. I even asked the doctor, which was interesting, what if I lose a good amount of weight before the date of the surgery? Will they just be like, no, you're fine? And he was like, absolutely not. He's like, the amount of weight you would have to lose in order to not be eligible for the surgery is basically impossible to lose healthily. So he was like, if you decide to have the surgery, there is nothing that's going to stop you unless something medical happens, which was the situation with the cardiologist, because the first time I went to him, he said no, because he didn't think it was safe for me to do the surgery with my heart, because my ejection fraction, I think.
Yes, I was gonna ask you. Yep. What was that, like 30s?
Yes, it was the first time he did it. It was high 20s, and then and then it went up to 30s. But he was like, he wanted to see it at about 40 or around there, preferably higher, before he would even think about letting me do the surgery.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were in bad shape, Glave.
Yes.
Like
yes.
And luckily you listened to your body and you went to the ED when you did, because I don't think you would be here right now if you actually didn't. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. So did you actually lose anything prior to surgery, or?
Yes, I lost maybe 10, 15 pounds, because they tried to get you to start the habits you'll need post-surgery, prior to surgery. So, chewing differently, you chew smaller bites for longer periods of time. You don't drink when you eat. And obviously the food choices and the times of day when you eat, basically have a set schedule, not because a set schedule helps your body, as in that was not the reason they gave, but because as far as your mind is concerned, if you stick to a schedule, you're more likely to stick to what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
With the food choices or what have you. So I maybe lost 10, 15 pounds, I believe. I think I was 375, 376 or something like that the morning of the surgery. Yeah.
355, okay. That's wait, 355 you said, right?
375.
Oh, 375. Okay. All right. On the morning of surgery. Wow. So then surgery went well, and how long did it take for you to recover?
A couple weeks.
Okay.
I think I was out of work for about a month to be sure. What the thing I was concerned about was because my belly was so big,
Mm-hmm.
the movement, like to even get out of bed, I could actually feel almost like pulling apart at the seams where the sutures were, or whatever, because of
Okay.
the weight of the belly with the movement and everything like that. So that concerned me even more than like pain or anything like that, because I didn't want to. My work includes a lot of bending down, a lot of
Yes.
stairs and stuff like that. So I didn't want to risk that and then, have to go to the hospital again. So I was out about a month, but I would say 2 to 3 weeks is what the real recovery took.
Okay. Well, now a year after, no, 2 years, right? No, last year. So a
Right.
year later, how much have you lost? So you started out 375 prior to, like, how are you now?
Right now I am 295.
That's good.
I had gotten down to less than 275.
Mm.
Um, but then everything happened with the COVID situation, and I was home, and I was out of work, and my business wasn't doing well, um, because other factors or what have you.
Right. Right.
But like a lot of that took its toll on me,
Right.
and I used that as an excuse to, well, I can't eat as much as I used to, but the wrong things,
Yes.
eating the wrong things. So that kind of put me in that kind of little spiral or what have you, and I gained a little bit of weight, but on the way back down now. Um, so yeah, it's and this is what we are talking about earlier. The journey is never ending. You have to set your mind to that journey to understand that it does not end. That every moment is a
Mm.
decision that could impact your future. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
that's where
It's crazy how that little whatever we put at the end of our fork is like how important that the role it plays in our health, you know what I mean? Because it accumulates, and
that's right.
oftentimes we think that, oh, it's just, slice of pizza or whatever, it's not gonna do anything, but I mean, like, 5 slices later, like, or like a whole stinking pie later, it's like,
Right.
okay, that's kind of not. And if you're in the habit of doing that, like, it adds up. And a lot of time I do say that the food that we eat is like information. So like everything that you put in your mouth is telling your cells to do something. It's tell it to turn things on or turn things off.
Mm.
And it can turn the wrong things on too. You know what I mean? And you have mayhem. It's like, your body goes haywire. So it's like it's super important. Like if we look at food as more as information than just like um just food. Just if you know what I mean, like not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
as just like a random thing, then I think we can look at it differently. Unfortunately, in our society, food is glamorized.
True.
You know what I mean? Like we have like cooking channels for days. People have eating competitions. Meanwhile, people are starving somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think in our society, we like really glamorize food to the point where it's not necessarily something that we do to sustain life. It's just something we do like socially or
Mhm.
to have fun. It's just like it's viewed the way we view food kind of contributes to our relationship with food in general. So
Sure.
so what are some of the things that you're still struggling with now, like in terms of, because I know you said that in terms of um mindset,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Sorry, food addiction, you had mentioned that earlier. Do you still feel like you still struggle with that?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Okay.
Like I was saying before, it's not if you if you think about any other addiction that's mainstream, alcohol addiction or substance abuse, drugs addiction, what have you, there's a chemical component to it.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is different from somebody who does not have the addiction. That their craving for those things isn't what yours is. And
Yep.
it's very similar with food addiction. I mean, there have been studies as far as sugar is concerned about the addictive properties that it has. Um, so when you get to that stage where where it's almost second nature for you to have this kind of thing, it's really hard to just be like, I'm just not going to have it and then sustain
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm.
This is why a lot of people they go on diets and it doesn't work. You know,
Right.
people in your position, they preach lifestyle changes as opposed to I'm going on this diet for 2 weeks or what have you, even though that might help, but that's not going to suffice in the long term.
Right.
And so like it's always going to be a struggle. You put a 7-Eleven Slurpee in front of me, you know, you put Reese's peanut butter cups in front of me, you put pasta in front of me, all of that stuff. It's always going to be like, I really want that. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Like, yum.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So like if you could do it all over again, would you go through surgery again?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, when I the morning after, so I did the surgery, and then that night was awful, by the way. Holy God, that night was awful.
Gas?
I felt like nobody cared about whether I
Oh,
lived or died. I was in the
really?
yeah, because you're in this recovery room, and everybody else is like, oh my God, everybody's in pain for whatever reason, and the nurses are over there like because they know that a lot of it is mental, right?
Mhm.
They know that okay, you have had this amount of
Pain
of
medication.
pain medication. You're not due right
We
now,
can only give you so much.
but you're like, listen to me, I am in pain or whatever. That night was horrible. Anyway, so
Oh,
the next morning now, when they're getting ready to discharge me or what have you, the doctors are telling me about what medications I'm going to be on going forward, and it's like immediately 3/4 of medications is done. I don't need anything but the heart medication and the blood pressure medication. Just immediately.
so tell me how many were you on prior to surgery? Because that's fascinating.
Five or six.
Okay. So then like
And
after post-op, you
two.
just two.
Two.
Ain't that some
Immediately, doc. I was just like, you serious right now? Like for real? Because as you know, the more medication you take and how often you have to take it for the length of time that you have to take it, that can do damage to your internal organs too.
listen, them thing got side effects for side effects and on side effects, and then they gonna
Bruh.
give you more stuff for them side effects. Like just in case. You do goodness gracious. But
So
anyways,
yeah, so like that was a huge thing for me. It was like,
wow.
wow, I'm down to just these two medications now, which is what I'm still taking. Like that's all I'm
Okay.
taking. And just like that, it cut something that was so detrimental going forward for me, right?
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
you lose the weight. Now I have sleep apnea as well. I have the CPAP machine and all of that. And around the time I lost about 75 to the 100-pound mark, I didn't need it to sleep anymore. Because what was happening was if I did not use the CPAP machine, I would wake up every 2 hours, like on the minute, every 2 hours,
Dag.
and have to pee. And it's like, why? What is happening? And then the doctor was like, this is because of the sleep apnea. He's like, you're not getting the oxygen that you're supposed to be getting while you're sleeping. So you're coming out of sleep and you're forcing your body's processes to start up every 2 hours. It's
Yeah.
it's not healthy or what have you. So then I still use it from time to time, but I don't need to use it in order to get a good night's sleep anymore, which is amazing. You know what I mean? Energy compared to what it was before through the roof. You know, I'm able to work for longer periods of time without feeling like like garbage, basically. You know,
Right.
stairs that used to be a problem for me aren't a problem for me anymore.
That's awesome, yeah.
I mean, things like that. So it's like a lot of things put together to improve your quality of life. So like, yeah, I would absolutely never go back and say I'm not doing this. It's ridiculous for me.
Sheesh. Now what do you know now that you wish you knew before?
What do I know now that I wish I knew before? Before the surgery?
Yes, or even while you were having issues with your health. So like prior to all of that stuff, like what do you know now that you wish you could have gone back and tell your, 25-year-old self?
Here's my problem. From high school, I was trained. There's a lot of classes, a lot of people around me who knew the right thing. So I always knew the things that I was doing were stupid or wrong or bad for the health, whatever you want to say. So it's not so much that I learned anything that would have changed my outlook back then. Which is really terrible. It's really sad, when you think about it. But maybe if I could take my health records from when I was at my worst and like pictures of myself when I was at 400 pounds and showed it to my 25-year-old self, like what you're doing now is going to lead to this, then it might have been the impetus, but like the stuff I know now, or I should say what I know now that I didn't know then, is details that would not have changed
I see. I see. That's good. That's pretty honest too.
Yeah. It sucks, but unfortunately that's where it was. Because I remember me and Jason used to work out a lot in the gym, like there was stuff we did. We knew what we were supposed to be doing. It's just food tastes good, my dude. Like, that's all I care.
No, but you're right. And unfortunately, the things that we enjoy eating, or that taste good, tends to be the stuff that are like in the lab that they, it's a science. It's a food science. They know how to the right amount of food, salt, fat, and sugar to bring you back and have you eat more of it to just hit that area in the brain that releases those endorphins and make you like, oh my God, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, like an apple doesn't hit like the way a piece of chocolate cake does, because they know what they're doing. But at the same time, but then we tend to go back to the chocolate cake because that tastes much better than an apple. You know what I mean? It's just retraining your mind and retraining your taste buds.
Exactly.
And that takes work. That takes work. And like you mentioned earlier, like once you, I don't know if you said this or if I'm maybe just remembering what you had said in one of your videos, that just because you have surgery doesn't mean that it, afterwards you don't have to put in the work.
Precisely. Yeah, I did say that in a video. I don't think I said that here, but yeah, that was like, that's huge. And that was one of the things that they drilled into you during those monthly meetings at the hospital.
I like that.
They did nutritional courses. You should eat this and not eat this, drink this and not drink that, or what have you. But they really wanted to drill into you, like, listen to me, your stomach is elastic. Right? So they cut it into this little sliver or what have you, but it can stretch. It can stretch right back out.
Yep.
Right back out, which is why when I was there, a lot of people would come in for their, year checkup or whatever, having had the surgery before, and they would need to get the surgery again.
Yep.
Because they had stretched their stomach out so much that it was a return to form before you. So like, yeah, you have to and these are the things, like someone whose metabolism works to their favor, as far as, no, we're not talking about just health. No, as far as they can eat whatever they want and they don't physically appear, that it's affecting them. But like the people who it lands on visibly, they get really big and really sick and all that stuff. Like those little habits that they drill into you, that'll save you, really, man. Chewing your food a lot, smaller bites, smaller portion size. If you one of the big things was using a vessel for your food that did not hold more than you were supposed to eat.
Yes.
Now, like before, I mean, we're having plates like this size, and sure, you can have this amount of food on that plate, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, it's like one piece of rice, one grain of rice, and like 2 beans. That's
it. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta have those habits, man. Otherwise, like you're just gonna fall. Another big thing when I was doing the research for the surgery, people were warning about was eating to the point where you're full. Do not do that. That's the kind of thing they were saying, because if you do that, like let's say this is your stomach, you eat to the point where you're full, you might miss up one time and you just do that little thing, right? The next time, that little thing, and then all of a sudden now you're like, I can eat way more than I used to.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, which is something I say often on my page. It's like I'm telling folks that you have to stop when you're 80% full.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there are times where we know we're satisfied, but we're like, nah, but I just want to take like 3 more bites. But at that point, you should stop. Like, no matter what's on your plate, you should be like, you know what? I'm good,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So, and definitely chewing, and we're so used to eating so quickly, we
Yes,
do not take the time to chew.
that's
And
right.
so, like, when you have to slow down and chew, at first it's gonna feel gross because you're like, there's a lot of stuff in my mouth right now that I have to keep chewing. Right? But it's important because that's where a digestion starts in our mouths,
Mm,
right? So then things start to break down in our mouths, especially carbs. Carbs
right,
starts to break down in our mouths. Protein is like somewhere down later on, but it's like you have to start the process up here, or else it's gonna be like too much down there.
right.
So that's crazy. So how has, speaking of food, which we've been talking about the whole time, so I know you have like the cooking business. So like, how has, now that you've had the surgery and you're learning how to do these things differently, how has that impacted or affected how your business is going, or like the food that you're cooking, or has it, or
Nope, no, not at all.
okay.
I was worried about that too going into it, like, um, it's going to affect taste and that, because there are people who said their taste changed completely after the
Mm-hmm.
surgery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But for me, that did not happen, and there should be there should be a place for everything, I believe. And we were talking about social eating before,
Yeah.
but the problem I feel is balance. Like, you can't, not can't. I don't believe that you have to just look at food as fuel. I feel like you can have a balance where there are times when you go out to eat with your friends, you eat the right things, you eat the right
Yeah.
portions and that kind of stuff.
And you enjoy it.
Exactly.
Right,
You
right,
don't have
right.
to sacrifice eating
Taste.
food. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous.
No,
So
I agree. I agree.
yeah. So I didn't want to change the idea I had for the business, because of that, because people need to be able to make their own choices.
Mm.
I did have ideas about informing people of what the food contains and how it could affect them. Maybe along with every delivery, there's a little thing in there that says, "Oh, salt can do this," and that kind of thing. And I also had another idea about expanding the business for bariatric surgery patients. So
That would be dope.
yeah, like I was thinking, like, you actually sell food, the right portions in the right packaging for people who can only eat certain amounts of things, and that would extend to people who just don't want to eat a lot either, even if they haven't had bariatric surgery. You know what I mean?
That would be awesome. I'm pretty sure there's a market for that.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff a lot of stuff changes in how you look at things, but it doesn't have to
Absolutely.
change, your ideas for your business and stuff. As far as I was concerned with Saturated Sunday, so yeah,
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. So what's one thing you want to share? I just want to make sure I get oh yeah, I do want to ask you this one because I know earlier you said that you didn't have a relationship with exercise, which have you started any exercise at all? Okay. And how are you finding it?
so the biggest thing for me before all of this was deciding to do it,
Mm.
deciding to exercise. I mean, in the moment, right? Not even like I need exercise in my life. I mean, like, okay, I set my alarm for 2 o'clock to exercise. Am I going to exercise now? You know what I mean? Like, in the moment, you're like, I mean, it's Friday. Nobody starts on a Friday. Let me start on a Monday.
Yo,
You
this sound like starting
know
Monday.
what I mean? So that was like the major thing. I mean, it's still a struggle now. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
like, if you find something okay, I'll just say for me, I found walking to be the easiest thing to get up and do.
Oh, that's awesome.
You understand what I'm saying? So like,
Mm.
yeah, you wanna get on a treadmill, you wanna pump iron, you wanna do all of this, but like, are you gonna do it?
Yep.
Are you going to do it? So
Yep.
it's like I had to find something there was the least space, that cliff you have to jump over, the
Yep.
shortest distance to do that. And walking was that for me. And once you do that, then you can start to add on things. So
Other things, right?
you know what I mean? So like I started walking, and I'm using the Apple Watch to calories and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the exercise ring is going, the timer or whatever, while I'm walking. And then you're finished your walk, you're like, okay, I can add something else if
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do a full 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour to complete that. So then I get,
Right.
well, I'll do some push-ups, or I'll do some curls, or whatever. Then you start doing a full exercise program, that kind of thing, so that's where I am. I'm in that area where I'm still trying to build on my motivation to do it, to just fully commit to a full workout program. But you get in the things that you can get in, as long as you're consistent with it. You'll that's a great start. If you're consistent with anything to cut calories, you know what I mean, to burn, to exercise, get your heart rate up, it's going to help, even if it's not a long time you're doing it. You know what I mean? As long as you're consistent, you can build on that, get the foundation.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So that's your next fitness goal then, to be consistent in terms of your exercise. And that's awesome. I think consistency is always key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always key. That's what helps you to get to where you're trying to get. So that's awesome. So now what would you say, what's the one thing you can say to someone who is struggling right now, who maybe was where you were prior to, and they're like, I got to do something. I don't know where to start, but like, what would you say to that person?
Get therapy. When they sent me to do the psychologist's whatever review for the surgery, the dude looked at me and he asked me some questions. He was like, "Oh man, you're fine. You can do this, whatever. But if you want to continue, just therapy for therapy's sake, we have counselors here." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And that completely opened me up for progress in every facet of my life.
Really?
Every facet of my life. Let me tell you something, Belinda.
Yes, please do.
Once you understand what has made you the way you are, I'm talking about good and bad, you can start to make changes. You can start to determine what you need to cut out from your life, what you need to increase in your life, what you need to add to your life that will get you to the person you want to be, because you are what you choose to do, right?
Yes.
The foundation of your past got you to where you are right now. But from this point, from the moment you decide, okay, I want to change this, that's just how it goes. So if you can understand that, like for me, it was how I was raised, West Indian household, and some of the things that happened in the household that didn't exactly contribute to my emotional health, let's say, that ultimately, obviously this is not taking away from the choices I've made. I'm just saying,
I understand. It's a contributing factor.
It's a contributing factor on the path to some of the habits that I had that led me to being where I was prior to the surgery. You know what I mean? Me and my sister, we used to watch The Biggest Loser when it was on whatever channel it was on, and they used to always have this element where Jillian Michaels, she would try to get into the head of the person. Hey, why is your relationship with food like this, or whatever? And then the people would start to break down and bawl and, oh, this happened and that happened and blah blah blah. And I would look at my sister and she would look at me and be like, "What's wrong with these people?" Like, like
you're like, you're weak, you're
you're like. So I would say we're big, but we just do it because we love food. That's why we're big.
Right.
But then you realize that's bull. That's bull. Like, you don't get to where I was because you love food. You don't understand? There has to be something, because you form these habits for a reason. There was a moment, there are moments along that path where you're like, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this to myself? I just had a T-bone steak this morning. Why am I having one again this evening? Going back to that thing. So it's like there is something underlying that is making it easier for you to make these decisions. It's a way out for you. Like you were talking about the dopamine or what have you. You're needing that because of some trauma or something like that. But maybe you don't even know. You know what I mean? But because you get therapy, because you get help, you get to talk things out. And sometimes, for me, I would say a lot of the times in those therapy sessions, the guy never said anything to me that was some, giant eye opener. You know what I mean? Like, it was just him just going, I see. And then asked me just some simple question like, why does that make you feel like that? And because you're talking it out, because you're actually thinking about the minutia of whatever you're feeling, you figure out what's going on in your life. It's not the therapist providing you with all these answers or whatever. This is coming from within you. And so I would just have to say that if you can get therapy, because this was covered by my insurance, and I know it's not cheap. Therapy is definitely not cheap. But if you can get the therapy, I don't care if you think you need it. I don't care if you think it's for weak people. Get off your butt and do it, because I would say it is probably the biggest factor in keeping me on the straight and narrow with this weight loss thing. And then the other aspects of my life. I would not have started the novel stuff that I was doing at the rate that I'm doing it without that. I would not have gotten the job that I have now without doing that. That's another story. Let me tell you this thing.
We're gonna have to keep that part. That's gonna be a part 2. Okay.
Yeah, therapy is it, man. Do it.
Well,
I would just do it.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I think and I oftentimes when we do think about bariatric surgery, we always think, and we do, I mean, like, for example, I know that there is a prepping process,
right?
And usually the emphasis is placed on the nutritionist and the doctors, and all those areas are great, but then, like you said, it was really the therapy that kind of unlocked it for you. Like, if it wasn't for that, I don't know if it would have gone so well, even with the nutritionist and the doctors, you know what I mean? And that kind of blows my mind, because, and it's not that I'm underestimating mental health or therapy. It's just that when you realize how important everything is to each other, how everything plays a role with each other. It's like nothing is by itself. Like, I know we have doctors that cardiologists, we have gastroenterologists, we have, endocrinologists, but honestly, everything is like is related. Everything plays on each other. If one fails, the other one fails. Like, once you have your heart is having issues, your lungs starts to act up, your kidneys are gonna be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, and your eyesight and diabetes, like, it's not just sugar, like, and it just goes to show how much we downplay the importance of the decisions that we make, how they affect our overall health. You know what I mean? Your mind can't be right if your body is all out of whack, and vice versa. So, like, that is really, really good, that what you just shared. That is super rich. Like, I didn't even think about that. So thank you for that. That's awesome. And I think I would definitely have to bring you on another day. We could just talk about just the mental therapy and the therapy and how that, really affected everything else, like you said, with the job and everything else. So that's gonna be part 2.
I'm down. Oh, and by the way, you said something about the diabetes. I forgot to mention this earlier. I started to lose my eyesight.
Shut up.
Yeah, if you look at some of my Instagram pictures, my personal, the Glave Cooks one, some of them you see me wearing glasses, and it wasn't style or nothing like that. I actually needed glasses. Like, I had to go to the eye doctor because things were blurry as hell.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, I'm 35. What's happening? You know what I mean? And my mom wears reading glasses and that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just that. Then I go to him, and he's like, nah, this is because of diabetes. Like, your sugar is that high.
It's affecting him.
So I ended up spending like $1,000 on one pair of glasses, and then I had the surgery, and now
you didn't need them.
Ridiculous.
What? Jesus, why was the thing $1,000?
Oh my God! Well, you go big or go home. Like, the frame was some like
I guess you're like, hell, if I'm gonna do this,
the frame was dope. It was from some, whatever. And then it was like transition lenses and blocking blue light and road glare and all.
Dude, you had everything.
Everything. It was like I was at the Apple Store. Yeah.
You had all the options on those pair of glasses. That is crazy. But I mean, it worked in the time being, right?
Right. I wore it like maybe 3 times, So it's fine.
Wow, that is awesome. Well, tell us, how can we get in touch with you? For those who want to follow your journey, tell us where to find you.
Well, put down the fork 2020 on Instagram. I believe it's the same thing on Facebook. And I have a Twitter, but who cares about Twitter anymore?
And you also have a YouTube. It's the same thing too.
Yeah, put down the
Yeah.
fork. Put down the fork 2020. You should see me with a cap on as the little logo there.
Yeah.
For it, so you could follow the journey there. I should start posting a lot again soon. You know, once this COVID stuff has gotten crazy as far as getting out and doing things and what have you, and like doing stuff in my house is it's not where it's at for a video like that with the exercise and stuff like that. I don't have the space for that, you know. But yeah, you can follow me there. Check out what's going. Preview. I mean, not preview, but watch the videos of leading up to the surgery and after the surgery. When I started those videos, when I started recording on my phone, I wasn't even sure that I was going to put it on YouTube. You know, I was like, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, maybe even if I don't go through the surgery, even if the surgery fails, something might help somebody else.
Yes, you're right.
So let me just put it out there. You know.
So glad you did. And I'm so happy you also accepted my invitation, because we had a really good conversation. And I really hope at least one thing we said, someone will, somebody will take that and like run with it. So, I mean, and there were a lot of gems that were dropped. So I do appreciate the conversation. And I know the struggle is real though, but it's like an everyday process. Like you said, just keep at it, being consistent as much as you can. And even if you were to slip off, just get right back on and just keep going. It's a journey, not a destination. So you're gonna have to keep trucking it until we finally make it. So thank you so much. And for those of you who are watching, you could definitely follow Glave at all those places, and they're gonna be posted down below. And comment, share, subscribe, and join the conversation. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So thanks again. Bye. We are signing off.